Larping as an anime girl genuinely has saved my life. Now I know that's like top 10 things you'll never hear a YouTuber say. You're hearing it today. This channel is very important to me. This is like the only channel I've ever had in my life. And because it is important to me, I had to make a video talking about anime. I had to make a video dedicated to anime because anime has impacted my subconscious mind in such a way where I genuinely believe that if anime didn't exist, I literally wouldn't be who I am now. And I know that's a crazy thing to say, but I literally grew up watching anime and only anime. I of course watched other cartoons, but like anime was my main form of like content. The reason why anime is so important to me is because I grew up basically as a social reject. I don't know if you could tell, like I'm who wears this? Like look at my room, like look at how I am, right? I grew up as a social reject. I was in extreme isolation when I was younger. I talked about this already, but I literally was like the black sheep of my family. And I grew up just always feeling like an outsider, always feeling different. And I just hated that feeling. On top of that, when I was younger, I barely had exposure to the outside world other than school, church, and pretty much that's it. I didn't really hang out with my friends as much. Like, I didn't even have that much friends to begin with. I remember this was during middle school where my cousin, the first anime she introduced me, from what I recall, was Tokyo Ghoul. And that anime, it's really good. It's not my favorite, but it's like one of the ones I always tell people that I really enjoy. When my cousin introduced me to Tokyo Ghoul, it was like I was unlocking Pandora's box. It was like she opened this portal and I was getting all of this untapped information. The reason why I really liked anime is because they talked about really dark themes, but they showed it through like this very cartoonish animated lens. And I think it's almost beautiful that they do it like that because it makes the dark themes seem even more darker when it's contrasted by this like very animated, just exaggerated, animated, cartoonish style. And this is why I don't understand why people call anime childish, especially when they explore like really dark themes. Animes like Tokyo Ghoul, I really resonated with Kaneki's storyline because if you don't know the storyline of Tokyo Ghoul, I mean, it's been years. Like you need to go on that. But basically, this guy, he goes on a date. His date ends up turning him into this devilish ghoul, and his life literally changes. All of the normalcies, all of the things that like he considered the norm from his life prior to the date is completely different now because he's no longer human. He's literally a demon. He ends up isolating himself from all of the hobbies that he usually took part of. Even his best friend, he didn't talk to him as much. He couldn't even enjoy like normal food, like a cheeseburger, without throwing up because everything in his life completely changed. I resonated with that, obviously not because of like the demon part, but because Kaneki was utterly lonely. He had to reject himself from the world and the normalcies that he was used to before the world rejected him, because if the world knew he was a demon, guess what? They would kill him. And eventually they did know, and eventually they actually did try to kill him. Watching anime like Tokyo Ghoul, oddly enough, made me feel this sense of like community. Yes, I know, community with fake characters. Okay, let me live. But it did make me feel a sense of like community because although these characters are fake, real people made the plot. Real people gave them these like certain themes that they carried, which means that there was a real person that resonated with Kaneki and expressed their loneliness or the feeling of being socially rejected in this character, in Kaneki. And it made me realize that like there's people that have faced the same things as me. Like there's people who have felt rejection, who does feel lonely. So that means I'm not really alone. Anime really helped me because anytime I felt like this huge weight, like I felt like I was carrying the weight of the world from my problems and just from my internal struggles, what I would do, I would pretend to be like this character that just happens to have these problems that they're dealing with, that just happens to have like this weird life. I would tell myself, okay, even though this part of my life was a little shitty, you know, I'm just a character experiencing this. So at the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything. Now, that may seem like a very small version of like depersonalization, but actually doing this taught me the art of detachment. When I pretended to be this character, life didn't feel that hard or as hard as before, because I would always tell myself, basically, this too shall pass, you know. I'm just a character experiencing these problems, and you know, it's not as serious, it's not as bad as I make it to be. Now, some people might say, oh, well, you shouldn't say that because, you know, this is reality and you need to be in the real world. You have to feel like the intensity of your problems. And I did feel the intensity, but as one of my closest friends told me, they told me, don't make yourself suffer more than you have to. That sounds so simple, but it actually changed the way I see things, because I realized that although like I had problems, I would catastrophize my problems, I would ruminate on them, and that would actually be the reason why I suffered way more than I should have. Not because of the physical problems, but because of my mind. It was already hard for me to talk to people in real life, but after, you know, I was socially rejected, I would tell myself, oh, I'm a failure. And you know what? You should just get it on, you know, do it, you know, end it all, right? I would like tell myself that. And obviously that's going to make you feel worse, right? But when I thought of myself, when I regarded myself as this character that just happened to have these problems, you know, that's just living this life, you know, I'm just experiencing this life, it made me feel not as attached to my problems. And yes, I acknowledge that these problems, these pains, these internal struggles still hurt, but I wasn't as moved by them. And that made it a little bit more easier for me to deal with them. Another way I LARP being an anime girl, if you don't realize this by now, I'm very imaginative. I regard imagination like a portal, because it is. If you think something with such intensity and you act on those thoughts, you are creating the reality. You're creating your reality. It's like a portal. Every thought, depending on whether you manifest that thought, depending on whether you bring that thought in fruition, every thought is literally like a portal to a new reality. I had a big imagination ever since I was a kid. Like, I was very imaginative, and I still, you know, as an adult, I still am taking this imagination with me, because I genuinely think that your imagination literally saves you from whatever hell you're experiencing, whatever version of hell you're experiencing, because your imagination allows you to think beyond your physical reality. Yes, you're experiencing problems. Yes, you know, you probably have terrible relationships with your friends or whatever's going on in your life. But when you use that imagination, when you use that beautiful mind of yours to just think of all the bigger possibilities beyond your problems, then you're literally opening new gateways for your reality. It's literally like a portal. Like, it literally is. And I started to master the art of imagining things, you know, doing it constantly, working at it constantly, and bringing that reality in fruition. I don't just do this with, you know, YouTube and like my career. I also do this with simple things, like with like how I look, like what I want to eat, like how I just want my day to unravel. I'll just think of all the possibilities. What do I want my day to look like? How does my higher self behave? Like, I ask myself these questions because I want to embody my higher self. Like, I want to embody, and I am. Actually, that's another thing. Don't say I want to embody. You have to say I am already that person. Like, you have to feel it, you know, it's all in the imagination. People will say things like anime is childish, but I think there's something so pure and magical about being very imaginative. It's something so innocent. And when I say innocent, I don't mean it in like a sexual way. I mean like innocent in the way where like you don't let this external reality corrupt your mind, and you don't let this external reality interfere with all of the possibilities you have in your life. It's literally like how children, you know, when you ask a child what they want to be, they'll say an astronaut, a superhero. Like, when I think of childlike, I think of being similar to a child in that regard. Like, if you want to be a superhero, if you want to be an astronaut, you don't let this world define who you want to be. You be it. You know, you have that childlike spirit. There's something so magical about being like that, because with that attitude, you can literally be whoever you want to be in this life. And you know how beautiful that is? The power to be anything you want in this life is so remarkably beautiful. And I think a lot of people lost this art because Well, because of how the world is now, and just because they lost hope in their self, they don't see themselves as this childlike being. They limit their self. When I think of an anime girl, I think of someone that's magical. I think of someone that they're not bounded by time, they're not bounded by this reality. They could be whoever they want to be. This is what I really mean when I say LARP being an anime girl or like a magical character. I strongly believe that if I think something and I do it continuously, I will get whatever I'm trying to get, right? And this is something that doesn't just apply to me, this applies to everyone else. If you literally just think of whatever you want to become and work at it, you will become it. But you need to have hope, okay? You need to don't let this world tell you who you are, okay? Just have hope, believe in yourself, and manifest like crazy, okay? This is my what's it called? Moment. There's a word, I forgot the word. My imagination has literally saved me from this physical realm. Like I said, I used to be very insecure. Like, I used to have social anxiety. From then on, I would imagine myself. Meditation also helped with this too, for me to overcome these fears. But I would imagine myself like talking to people. I would imagine myself, basically my higher self, like doing all the things I wish, overcoming all my fears. And look at me now. Like, if I compare myself from 2 years ago to now, it's such a big difference. And it's all because of my imagination. It's all because I don't limit myself, When I think of an anime girl, I think of imagination. I think of being limitless. Like, these are all the attributes I attribute to being an anime girl, being like this magical being. And this is something everyone should adopt because it will save you. It will free you from all of your fears. Okay, the goal of this life is to be fearless. Thinking of myself as this like anime character has helped me overcome so many fears. Your fear comes from your ego meaning your identity. I was afraid to do things like speak on YouTube because I identify with me being like the shy person. And being on YouTube, obviously, it contradicts this identity, this narrative of being a shy, introverted person, because obviously I'm speaking to people. If you're speaking to people, like if you're talking to people and helping them and then you're not that shy. So in order to overcome my fears, I literally had to let go of this version of me that I had in my head. And identifying with like this anime character, being like this anime character, helped me because it shifted my identity. It shifted my perception of myself. I don't have to pretend to be this shy person. I don't have to limit myself to that identity because I realized that, well, I'm not that identity. I'm not that identity. I'm not as shy as I believed I was. Every day, like, I'm forcing myself to contradict the things I believed I was. And I am doing that. But the only way you can shift your current identity, the identity that you don't prefer, to the identity that you do prefer, is by acting like the identity that you do prefer. I prefer to be this person that's talking on YouTube, that's not as shy, that's more outspoken. The only reason why I was shy in the past is because of trauma. That was a trauma response. That wasn't really me. I was identifying with something that wasn't even me. For me, seeing myself as this like anime girl character helps me to shift my identity, helps me to become more of my preferred self, because I'm envisioning myself as a version of me that directly contradicts my old self, my old identity. I'm gonna leave this here because I'm proud of the things I've said, and there's more to come. I'm gonna post more videos. I can't say everything in this video, but if you like this video, like, subscribe, comment down below. Please comment about the things you want me to talk about. Yeah, I'll see you in my next video. Bye.